Hey everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera Show. Merry Christmas. We have had the best time this month getting ready for all the festivities during the holidays, and I'm going to finalize everything right before the big day with some great suggestions for Christmas dinner. Today we're going to be making a stuffed crown pork roast. You know, you've seen this in the magazines and you thought, I could never do that. Well, you're going to learn how to do it today. And then finally we're going to end it all with a Yule Log. Another one of those photos you see in all the magazines and you think, I could never do that. Well, you're going to learn today that that's a simple recipe and something that really has the wow factor. So let's get started on this crown pork roast, and isn't it fantastic? I love the way it looks even at the raw state. And it is a pork roast with the ribs in it, and you can actually pick these up already tied up this time of year because they are so popular. Fresh Market has them available right there in the butcher case, but if you're concerned that people are going to be flocking over there to get this from watching the show, just be sure to call your butcher at their store and get them to reserve one for you. So this is determined serving-wise by the number of ribs, and this one actually has 13 ribs. So each little section is going to be a serving. So if you've got a bunch of hungry folks, you might want to go with 2. This could do 13 servings just like this, or you could do 2 servings for a man, but it basically comes out to about $3.33 a serving. So I'm just going to take some kosher salt and just lightly go over the roast with that first. And prior to coming on the air, I made a fantastic rub that we're going to put on it with just some really great fresh ingredients. I used garlic, rosemary, fresh sage, and then I poured olive oil on it and made just a great paste to go on this. So what we're going to do is just take your pastry brush, and this is one of our stocking stuffer ideas. This is a pastry brush with a little elevated ledge on it, so when I get through with this and I lay it on the counter, it's not going to leave a big mess. This just smells, you know, fantastic too. And you want to remember that you can do this part the day before and then cook it the next day. So you've done all your pre-prep early. All right, so I will get the rest of that on there, but just in the sake of time, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the pan roast that goes in there. This is a cut up onion. So I'm just gonna take that, and I've also sprayed the pan really well. So I'm gonna circulate these vegetables all the way around. I've got some fennel, and I absolutely love that, and celery. So this is just part of what is gonna just cook through into this roast, evenly distribute. And then the part that you're gonna love the most is the stuffing that we're gonna do on the inside. This roasting pan is also very important because as this cooks, there's quite a bit of liquid. So you don't want to use a shallow pan because it'll spill over in your oven. This is chicken broth. I'm just going to fill the pan with that. 4 cups of that. And then I've got some dry white wine. Gets better and better, doesn't it? And again, the presentation on this is so fantastic. All right, a little white wine in there. All right, and then the stuffing, and don't worry, I'm going to show you how to make the stuffing in the next segment, but you're just going to fill that cavity. And it's not really very thick in there, so all the leftover is going to go in a separate casserole dish that you can use as a second side with this. But this has fantastic ingredients. So I'm going to keep working on this, getting it basted really well. And when we come back from the break, we're going to get started on how to make this fantastic dressing that, a little hint, it has roasted chestnuts. So come back with me in just a few minutes. How about a 3-in-1 baster? It's a baster, it has its own cleaning brush, and it even takes the temperature of the turkey. Welcome back, everybody. And oh my goodness, you know, I love the wow factor, and I certainly am so excited about Christmas dinner. And whether you have it on the 23rd, the 24th, or the 25th, I certainly want you to use some of these recipes for your holiday gathering, and they're always available at VeryVera.com. So while we were away during the break, I finished basting that fantastic crown roast, got it plenty full, and then that stuffing that I'm getting ready to show you how to make, I added just a little bit more to the top because I want it to be full and plentiful. That will shrink just a little bit while it's baking. And then I cut little pieces of aluminum foil, and I've made little tiny caps to go on the top of each one of those bones so it won't burn during the baking process. It goes into a very hot 450-degree oven for 30 minutes, then you reduce that heat down to 325 for an additional 2 hours. You want an internal temperature of about 145 on pork, and then my handy stocking stuffer, which was the baster thermometer, I can test that temperature and also put a little bit of those hot drippings on it right before it comes out of the oven. All right, well, let's get started on the dressing, the stuffing, because I said I was going to share that recipe with you. So prior to coming on the air, I cooked 4 pieces of slab bacon that I cut into 1/4 inch pieces. Got that nice seared and crispy in the pan. Took it out of the pan with a slotted spoon so I could leave some of the bacon drippings in the pan, and that's what I'm cooking the rest of the vegetables in. So I've got celery and garlic and all kinds of wonderful things in here that have sauteed down. Now I'm going to add in some really great things. How about some pears that are chopped up? You know, just the idea of all of this in a stuffing is just fantastic. Chestnuts and cranberries. So you've got greens and reds and a crunch and a fruity flavor. It's just fantastic. Now I'm going to add in some more wine. So we've got wine in the pan sauce and we've got wine in the dressing. So while I'm getting started on the bread part of this, this is just going to start to cook down and reduce. All right, we've got this all reduced now down to about half, and this is why I love this Bialetti cookware, because that pan is not the least bit messed up. All I've got to do is wipe it out. So that's ready to go. The sourdough bread that goes in this recipe, you want to cut into cubes, and then just take your hands and just make sure you don't have any really great big chunks. The bacon that I cooked earlier, I'm going to now add to that, and then this is when all these delicious vegetables are going to go all over this bread. And you know, you can make this a little bit ahead and get those vegetables kind of cooled off, because honestly, my favorite way to do this is to mix it up with my hands, but because this is warm on TV, I'm certainly not going to put my hands down in there. But you're just going to kind of mix this together. And you know, when you're buying that sourdough bread, get some good bread, for heaven's sakes, you know, because everything you're putting in this is so well thought out. The fresh herbs and the chestnuts and dried cranberries is just, you know, even in a turkey, this stuffing would be fantastic. So if you don't want to do the crown roast, keep this in mind for another option for a dressing. Now I'm going to start adding in chicken broth, and you want to you know, start with maybe a couple of cups, but add just a little bit at a time and get it mixed in. And this is why I like to use my hands, because you can actually, you know, just squeeze that bread and go. But this wooden spoon is working really well right at the time being. And you know, I don't generally season and taste on the air, but one thing you have to do with this, because all of everything is just kind of getting mixed together, I'm going to add a little bit of kosher salt to this. And you know, you do want to taste it, because part of this, of course, earlier went into the crown roast, and you don't want to add in stuffing that's not seasoned enough. So I am just going to pick up a little bit. Oh my gosh, I love this. You know, all of those seasonings, and the longer this sits, the better it's going to get. You want it to be a little bit on the soupy side though, because when it goes into this pan, it's gonna dry out. So I've got my casserole dish all sprayed. I'm ready to go with that. And like I said, this can be an extra side dish Gonna pour that right into my prepared pan. And this can bake along the side and have another vegetable accompaniment to that meal. All right, so this is ready to go in the oven as well. And when we come back from the break, we're gonna get started on a Yule log that is gonna send the fireworks going at the end of this Christmas dinner. So come back with us in just a few minutes.
Ask Vera is brought to you by Georgia Bank and Trust and Southern Bank and Trust.
Kristen Chandler in Augusta writes, help, do you have any craft ideas for kids home for the holidays? Kristen, I've got a great idea. All right, we're gonna do some tea towels as a craft for those children while they're home for the holidays. Makes a great gift. We're gonna just get tea towels at your favorite store. We're gonna Google coloring pages, maybe that have to do with Christmas. You're gonna get transfer paper at your favorite craft store and transfer that with your printer to that design. Take a hot iron and just bear down really well on the tea towel. And be sure to supervise those children that are too young to do that. And then it's just gonna peel right off. You've got your design. The kids can come in then with colored pens to make it really attractive. And then when you fold it up, it makes a great gift that you can give to neighbors and friends, personalized with these fabric pens, a perfect craft, great way to engage those kids during the holidays. Kristen, I hope that helped you. And if you've got a question for me, send it to Ask Vera at NBC26.tv. And I want to remind you that Christmas in Hopelands is happening at Hopeland Gardens from now until December 27th. Walk through this beautiful display of Christmas lights. For more information, go to the cityofaiken.southcarolina.gov. Welcome back, everybody, and if you're just joining us, you've only missed a crown roast going in the oven, but don't worry, we've still got plenty of tips about that you'll see, and I'm working on a Yule log that'll be the absolute wow factor to your Christmas dinner. I'm so excited about it. So the stuffing is in the oven, the aroma is fantastic with the chestnuts, the pears, the white wine, the kitchen just smells great right now. So we're working on the batter for the Yule log. So I've got my egg yolks in the mixer. And you know, one of the cool things about this recipe is the fact that you get to use the egg whites too. So many times you have to throw one or the other away. But I'm gonna just get those creamed, and I'm adding sugar to that. And again, this is the batter for the actual cake part of the Yule log. A little bit of vanilla extract. Just get that nice and creamy. And then my dry ingredients are flour, sugar, cocoa, baking soda, and baking powder. So one of the characteristics of a Yule log is that the cake is very spongy. And that's why you've got 2 leavening agents in there on top of the egg yolks, which is part of the leavening, and the egg whites. All right, so let's turn this speed down just a little bit. I'm going to start adding in these dry ingredients. And you know, this is so much fun to get that young person right there beside you as you're doing this. So some of the little things that you can point out, like changing the speed on the mixer, you know, so that that doesn't go flying up all over the place. But we just want to get that just incorporated. It's going to be kind of pasty because there's several steps here to this. All right, so that's just where I want it to be. Now, prior to coming on the air, I mixed up the meringue that's going to go in here. So it's the egg whites, gradually adding the sugar, and incorporating a little bit of cream of tartar to make it nice and stiff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit of the egg whites, because what this does is kind of loosen up this stiff batter. So I'm going to get that loosened just a little bit. See, it's now starting to get a little bit more pliable. All right, so I'm going to take that off, and now I'm going to start the folding process. So I love to get every bit of this off. This way your fingers come in really handy. I love to get my fingers in there when I'm doing my baking stuff. All right. So now I'm just going to start incorporating the egg whites. All the rest of this goes in the bowl. Oh, and that cream of tartar really does work when you're adding that to the meringues to get it good and stiff. And now we're just going to take a nice folding motion to this. And this is part of the reason why this cake fluffs up really nice and thick. I've prepared my cookie sheet pan, and you want to use one of the ones with the sides on it. I've put wax paper or parchment paper down in the bottom of it, and I've sprayed it really well with my pan coating. And this is just about ready. So you just want to get it where you've got not big clumps of the batter, but plenty of incorporation on that. All right, so now I'm going to spread that into the pan. Very easy. Just make sure you get all of it out. And you're going to think, this is the thinnest cake batter I've ever seen in my life. But it just spreads so well all the way across. So you just take your spatula and you want to make sure you get it all evenly out. And then this is going to go into a 350-degree oven for 12 to 15 minutes. Okay, the magic of TV. This cake is out of the oven. I've gone around it with a knife so that it's ready to be flipped out. I've got powdered sugar on my tea towel, and now I'm just going to flip the cake, woohoo, right out of the pan. I'm going to lift the paper, and if a little bit of it sticks, it doesn't hurt anything in some of the places. And what we're going to do is roll this up so it takes on the shape of the log. Just start at the end and start rolling it up. And when we come back from the break, we're going to put a dandy filling on the inside of it and get it decorated like a traditional Yule log. How about a double-bladed peeler? It acts like a regular peeler, but also has a julienne feature. Put that in the stocking. Welcome back, everybody. Did I promise you a seriously awesome Christmas dinner? Well, hopefully that's the way you feel right now, because I'm so excited. I actually cannot wait to do this again myself. But during the break, we rolled out the rolled cake that was on the tea towel, and then I made a fantastic filling out of whipping cream, powdered sugar, instant coffee, and vanilla. And I have spread that over the inside of the sponge cake within a ½ inch of the edge. Now we've rolled that up back into the jelly roll shape, and the reason you did that was to maintain the shape. And then this is when you need to have your platter ready that you're going to serve it on, because once you've done that part, you're going to refrigerate it and let it get nice and cold. Then I've made a buttercream frosting out of butter, powdered sugar, this has got cocoa in it, a little bit of vanilla, and some of the brewed instant coffee. So basically all you're doing at this point is just spreading this on the roll, and it's such a pliable icing that it's really easy to do. And honestly, this recipe made exactly enough to do this. And you know, the cake almost looks like a roll even before you do that. So for the sake of time, I'm going to show you real quickly how you take a fork then and you're going to score it along the way to make it look more like a log. And then you can pick up these little holly leaves or just use your piping tip for leaves on your piping bag and some red hot candies and you've got holly leaves. I also thought, well, a log doesn't look like a log without mushrooms around it. So I did the same recipe for the meringues that we did earlier. These are on our website at VeryVera.com. Then I melted some chocolate and did the outside of just little plops of meringues that I baked in the oven overnight, made some mushrooms. So my finished log is complete with all the little mushrooms from the forest that are going around it, and these, of course, are edible. Now for the crown roast, for heaven's sakes. Did it bake perfectly? Nice and pink on the inside. As you can see, just as I said, that is a very generous serving. So 1 chop per person, or if it's a hungry crowd, allow for 2, but that will serve 6 to 12 people depending on appetite choice. Then the dressing, the stuffing that baked, I took my ice cream scoop and did just scoops of that dressing to garnish that tray with the extra cranberries. And then when you go to pick up your crown roast at the fresh market, you want to be sure that you have those little crowns going on it. And speaking of the fresh market, if you run out of time to do this Yule log, guess what? They have them already ready and they're going to be on sale this week at the fresh market. So place your order for one if you don't have time to make the actual recipe. Well, hopefully you've gotten some great tips today. I want to wish everybody out there a very Merry Christmas. Kids, I hope you've all been good, not naughty. And I want you to come back and join me again next Saturday for another episode of the VeryVera Show. No matter what you do, do it in good taste.